Hi, Matt here. Sometimes I want to throw stuff at my girlfriend. It's usually love or flowers, but sometimes it's other stuff. And I bet she wants to do the same. So I'm going to code a VR game to do exactly that. But first, it's been almost a year since I've done any serious game development, so I'm going to need a little refresher. So, I'll see you in a while. Okay, research done. First, let's create a single player version of the game and we'll add the multiplayer part afterwards. Alright, so I do have a basic scene prepared. I basically followed the instructions from Godot documentation and XR Tools website. So let's jump into VR and see if it works. Okay, I wish to tell you that this is an attempt number 1, but it's very much not. So let's try it one more time. Okay, so I'm using Steam VR to connect to the game remotely. So when I start the game, I should see the staging environment and the game. Okay, so here are my hands. I can move around. I'm way too high, but looks like hands are working. And this snap turning also works. Great! Now let's polish it up a little bit and it should look better. I've made two cool scripts for my pickable objects. One is to emit particles when the object hits something, and the other is to destroy the object if it hits something with a set velocity. Let's take a look at the code. First, we'll see the particles emitter. So I'm connecting to body entered signal. It is available because the pickable object is a contact monitor. So when the hitbox of this object collides with other object, function is called. It checks if the pickable object is picked up, because I don't want to emit those particles when the object is within our hand. And it just toggles the emitting to true. So the other script is a bit more complicated. So we're again connecting to the body entered signal from the pickable object, but additionally we're checking if the pickable object has a child of type emit hit particles. This is the script we've looked at before, and if it has an object with the script, it toggles has particles and adds wait for. Wait for is used to delay destroying the object until the particles are emitted. So again, when it collides with other body, I'm checking if it's picked up, and if the linear velocity is higher than the velocity we've provided, I'm destroying the object. But if it has particles, I'm awaiting the before destruction function, which just freezes the object and hides the mesh for a second. Alright, so I've done some updates. Obviously I've added walls to hide behind. I've added some grass and other stuff on the floor. By the way, Proton Scatter is just awesome. I've added shield locations, so you can protect yourself from flying elements. I've added item spawners, and this absolutely beautiful dummy player. I've created a scoreboard to, well, track the score. It basically registers itself to the game controller, and then updates the scoreboard, which would be 0, 0 at the start, and exposes a function to actually change the score. The item spawner code is also really simple. It connects to the has drop signal and instantiates a new pickable element, and afterwards it snaps it to the snap zone. There's also kill player on collision code, which you can hook into any pickable object. It remembers the last player that held the object, and if it collides with a player head, it kills the player and gives points to the player that threw the element, and afterwards it just deletes itself. Let's also take a look at the scoreboard. It handles registering scoreboards, players, handles how to kill a player, and also updates the scoreboard. Lastly, there's player code that basically just resets your position when you die. So the game now looks like this. You can pick up your shield, go into an item spawner, grab an item, and throw it at another player. The sound will play and the score will be counted. Now that we have our main game ready, here comes the hard part. Making the multiplayer work. And it's especially hard in VR for two main reasons. One is that we can't really sync the rig. The controller nodes are always synced to your controllers. So whenever you would move, all of the other rigs would also move like you. So to solve that, we need to create fake players that would sync to each player independently. So the other issue is managing ownership on our pickable objects. So basically, who controls how the object moves? Do you control it? Does the server control it? Or maybe another player controls it? We need to handle that. So let's get to it! As you can see, after a few long hours, I finally managed to make the lobby work. The players are in the same scene and are synchronized properly, and I only had to do a few weird things. So let's take a look at the code that makes it work. First, let's start with the lobby UI. This code is really simple. It basically connects the buttons and toggles between different menu states. The multiplayer handler is mostly copied over from the Godot's documentation. I just simplified it a little bit. Here is the lobby code. It is responsible for spawning the players and moving them into the correct position. When a player connects, it removes the temporary XR rig used for the UI and spawns a new player with an ID. When you host the server, it first disables the local rig and then creates a player for you, but it also resets its start position, so you are in the place you've started in. So now let's check the player code. It's easily the most complex. You can find it on my GitHub, it's in the description. When the node enters the tree, so before it's ready, it sets it up as a local player if you force it. When it's ready, it registers itself to the game controller, and if you set can move to false, it will disable movement. The init multiplayer function sets your local ID to the one you've provided, changes the name so it's easy to find, and sets the multiplayer authority to this ID. Afterwards, it checks if it's the local player or a remote player. Local player would be you when you play the game. Remote player is any player that joined to your game, so you don't have a control over it. Before we move forward with looking at the player code, let's look at the player tree. It consists of two main nodes. One is local player and one is a dummy. So a local player is your XR rig. It is responsible for synchronizing your controllers with what you see in the game, synchronizing your head with the camera and your body position. A dummy is something we display to the other players. It needs to be there even if you're a local player, because multiplayer synchronizers work that way that the nodes need to be the same on every single client. So now that we have discovered, let's take a look at the setup functions. The setup local player disables the visibility of the dummy model, sets the XR rig to current and enables processing for it, and it moves the head mesh instances to different visual layers. This is used to make the mirror work. When you're a remote player, it disables the rig, sets the processing to false, and also disables the remote transforms. Even though the remote transform has the processing disabled, it still somehow synchronizes the position, so we have to manually override that. So other thing I needed to do to make the multiplayer work is modifying the XR Tools player body script. I've just overridden the ready function, so this source code is exactly the same as it was in the plugin itself, but this is the important change. So by default, your player body collects all the movement providers in the scene and stores them. The problem in multiplayer is that there will be other movement providers present for other players. So the change is that it also gets all the movement providers, but it restricts itself just to your XR rig. This is just a recursive function to collect all of those nodes. So that's it for the lobby. Let's make the rest of the game work. After almost a week since the last clip, I finally managed to get the entire game working. In some cases, making the multiplayer work was fairly easy. For example, in the Pickable object, it was a matter of creating a simple ownership manager that gave the multiplayer authority to whoever picked up the object. In other cases though, it was difficult, like really difficult. It was the case for the item spawner. It used the snap zone from XR Tools, but the problem is that XR Tools are not really built for multiplayer. Getting it to spawn an item and automatically pick it up was a nightmare. And in the end, I've replaced it with a simple button spawner system. Anyway, I've made it work. You can find the entire project in the link in the description. And now you can enjoy the gameplay you've been waiting for. Alright, so the game is ready. I'm here with my girlfriend. Say hi.
Hi.
And I think we're ready to start.
Let's go.
Okay, let me recalibrate quickly.
Ha.
Ah.
I did it.
Hey, so it's 0-1. I have to get better at my own game.
It will be 0-5. Oh no, it won't be, I guess.
Okay, different tactic.
You had any?
Did she just bump me with the shield?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
Next one. Let's go.
Okay, let's try tomato.
No.
I'm starting to think I shouldn't implement those shields.
Why? This is actually doing the
No.
job. Oh no. So it won't be 5-0 for me, I guess. Yeah.
Sneak up on her.
What are you? Oh, here. Okay.
Ha!
No!
Where am I?
What are you?
Below the map.
Okay.
Let's maybe try this again. Hello again.
Hello.
Round number 2. 1, 2. Wait, where's 2?
Ew. I hit something.
Ow! Ah! Quick, quick, quick.
Oh, okay, I'm here.
You just whacked me to the other side of the map.
Shield OP.
Ha!
How? Ah, a hand.
Right, maybe best of 3.
Why though?
Because it will take too long. Let's try tomato.
No.
This should fit you. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. I coded the game.
Ha.
Oh.
best of 3 it is.
Alright, you won. Fair game.
Oh no. I'm pointing in the wrong direction. Ha!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It took a long time to make and I hope I will see you next time. Waiting, waiting. And I'll keep waiting.